Welcome to The Craft. I'm your host, May Globus. This podcast is a collection of intimate conversations on artistry, mastery, and life with talented, passionately curious creatives and entrepreneurs. Most are dear friends, some are those I've admired from afar. I hope you enjoy these conversations, this exploration of the humanity that connects all of us, as much as I do having them. Thank you for being here and for listening. It's always a good day when you're in the presence of Tyler Quarles, a man of many, many talents. The longtime art director and co-founder of Baro Drywear grew up in an equally athletic and creative household, spending much of his youth in snowboard shops while honing his passion for design. In this conversation, we dive into his upbringing, the story of how he created the Herschel Supply logo, getting the latest Baro collection to market during the pandemic, the key ingredients to a good partnership, and more. Please enjoy this episode with the incredible human that is Tyler Quarles. Tyler, welcome to The Craft.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really stoked for this conversation.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
It's a long time coming.
I know. Yes. And we always have great chats. So I'm excited to share this one with other people.
Me as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We were just talking about earlier and how long we've known each other.
Yes.
10 years.
Probably more than 10 years for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, do you remember where we actually met?
Yes. Okay. So I was doing the math.
Yeah.
And I was a contributing writer for Ion, and
Bingo.
you were the creative director or the art director.
At that time, I was art director. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you were also the art director for Vancouver's Awesome in its first iteration, no?
Yeah. Well, working with Bob on VIA was rad. We had met. You and I met at, I think it was it 218 or what was that awesome clothing store that was right across?
212.
212. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, right across from the old from
Yes.
Shine, right?
Yes.
And we met there, and we just I don't know, we just immediately clicked, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
you do this, I do this, cool. And we probably were going somewhere to go dance or something with a big group
Probably.
or whatever, you know?
We were probably going to Shine.
We definitely were going to Shine for sure.
It's so good. And 10 plus years later,
Yes,
awesome friendship.
absolutely. I do
So
have to
happy
tell
to-
that I can carbon date our contact swap. We talked about this earlier, but I can carbon date it because your name is in all caps in my phone, which means that contact carried through from the SIM card of my Motorola Razr in 2007 or 8, which is rad. So.
Amazing. Vintage.
Vintage.
This is a vintage
Which I still
friendship.
have. I still have it.
That's amazing. Well, you know what? We're talking about, 10 years of friendship, but I want to go back to when you were a kid. What were you like as a kid? I imagine you were not too different than what you are now, which is I feel like you're just such a positive, curious person, and you have this incredible ability to connect the dots.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Well, what your specific question was, what was I like as a kid? And I think the only way I can describe that is at the moment we were looking back at some old Hi8 footage of my sister's first steps. And I love my sister. She's amazing. She's a couple years younger. She's terrific and does amazing things. And this whole time I've thought that I've been the most supportive kind of person. Meanwhile, I'm in the background. She's taking her first steps and I'm stomping around in boots saying, I want my juice. I want my juice. So clearly I've kind of maybe been prone to the positive, but also trying to make as much noise as possible kind of side of things. I don't know. So my sister and I grew up in Vancouver. I was born originally in Montreal. My whole family's all back from Montreal. And my grandfather had a sporting goods store actually back in the 60s, and it was called Streeter and Quarles. They sold skis and tennis rackets and all that kind of stuff. And then my dad worked with him doing sales and all that kind of stuff. Moved us all out to Vancouver in '88 because he was a major nut for windsurfing. And Vancouver was a great windsurfing spot because you had Squamish and the water was, you could be in the water all year round. You couldn't be in the water all year round in Montreal. And so moved us out west to start the windsurfing shop, which then later turned into Pacific Border. So so we
Okay.
came out as a family to start and then run Pacific Border for many, many years. I totally grew up in a snowboard shop. My fondest memories are hanging out with, my dad's, team members and all that kind of stuff. Learning to count change and help people out, grip skateboards, whatever that is, you know?
Mhm.
And then he sold that to the Comor crew in 2002, I want to say.
Mhm.
And then I maintained kind of hanging out in that scene and that kind of crew. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like the snowboard, uh, surf action sport kind of connection there.
And you also have this kind of you're a creative,
Mhm.
and your mom and your grandmother were quite
Yeah,
creative. So
totally.
you
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
get that side obviously from them.
We had an extensive collection of craft supplies. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So my grandmother's a watercolor artist. She does some really cool landscapes, and she traveled everywhere from like Bermuda to Whistler and Montreal, like taking doing all sorts of really cool landscapes and architectural stuff. So she was always encouraging me to paint and draw and have fun. And then my mom was also pregnant with me as a practicing working graphic designer in Montreal, and we're talking like letraset and like paste ups and all that kind of stuff. So she would have to put together the paste up, and it gets sent off to the photo type person and comes back. So
Oh,
I remember
wow.
when like my day one of design class, I was like, "Hey, mom, check this out," and she's like, "Wow, day one, it's like what my whole career was doing, and you just to push the button." So yeah, but no, they've been incredibly supportive the whole time, and it's just been they helped me see that it was possible to have a
Mhm.
creative career and love it.
Yeah, and I guess in your career too, you have this creative side and you had this other snowboarding side of you, and you were able to blend the two because you've been working for magazines like I think King Snow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
you've been able
totally,
to kind of marry the
totally.
two sides.
Well, and I don't think it's a surprise or a secret that it was life within snowboarding that inspired the design. So it
Mm.
was falling in love with the graphics on the boards themselves, um, but also falling in love with being a shop kid. We got to see all these. It sounds maybe boring to someone else, but like sales assets and like a catalog or a special tech page for something that you would get it as a sales associate to then go and tell the features and benefits of a particular board or whatever it was. And who was who was doing, I think, the raddest stuff was an agency called JDK out of Vermont, and they did all of Burton stuff like forever. And so, lo and behold, all the Burton stuff was just incredible, super inspiring. They had some insane creatives working for them. And so that was really my intro into design. Like I knew a life of um, running a shop wasn't for me, but the world of creating and telling that story was.
Mhm, mhm. So what was the first project that you worked on then?
Like
Yeah, as a designer.
the very first project I ever worked on as a graphic designer was, oh boy. Well, okay, there's two ones and they both have good shout outs. So, first one shout out is Danny Fazio for the first paid gig, uh, Ion Magazine slash Bang On. And there was a series of hand gestures. Some of them you can't see the hand gestures I'm making right now, but just imagine all the hand gestures one can make. And I drew those, and those would go on Bang On t-shirts. So that was dope. So thank you, Danny. We'll get to Danny later at Ion, a legend. And then the other one was John Tang, a guy I knew from selling Burton snowboards. Amazing guy. He was working at a great agency called Cowie and Fox, which was just down the street.
Oh, yes, I remember that
Yeah,
agency.
and they had it was super fun. It was a 1 month contract where I was doing all of option snowboards, not all of a series of option snowboard graphics for the upcoming year. Sadly, that was 2008, and option did shutter, so those decks actually never made it anywhere. But that was the first thing I got to do snowboard graphics for
Wow.
Vancouver Pride option, which was really cool.
Oh,
So
that's so,
yeah, it
so
was
cool.
super fun.
Yeah, and then, we were chatting earlier, and then sometime in there, 2011, you went to Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
what
Yeah.
brought you there?
Uh, I don't know. I kind of like I feel like I was pulled to Australia. Everything that I was interested in um, just seemed to come from there. Like the music, the fashions, the lifestyle, like everything was just pointing to Sydney or Melbourne. There was just something about it. I didn't have a pull at that time to go to say Europe or New York. To me, it was there's something about Australia, and there was something about that culture and lifestyle. Um, So yeah, I just went there. I was in a situation where I was able to um, go there and had an awesome. It wasn't even that long. It was like 7 months or something like that. But
Mm.
I feel like those 7 months were so transformative of just being. And we didn't get to actually like travel around too much. It was more like one spot. We lived in like one little spot. And so to be able to know like, oh, you get your milk from this spot and like go, the prawns are better at this, market or whatever. So to like feel like a local even for like a couple months was a really profound experience.
Yeah, so you just needed a change in
I just needed
scenery.
a change in scenery. Yeah, for
Mm,
sure. For
mhm.
sure. Yeah.
And then you were back in 2012?
Back in 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then what was life looking like for you then?
Life was good. So when I came back from Australia, I think I was looking for like what's next. Like how is how is this all going to pan out and, looking back and connecting the dots as you say. When I was in Australia, um, I was blown away by first off, I was in Australia during the wettest summer since like 1952 or something like
Mm.
that. Like classic Canadian. It was like, I'm gonna go to the sun. And it was like pouring rain for weeks on end. But it was great because like I was learning to surf and no one was in the water because everyone was freaked out about it. But like, you know how when it snows in Vancouver and it's like pandemonium, like people are freaking out?
Oh, yeah.
It was like that when it rained in Sydney. And granted, yes, of course, there are larger drops and it's not the city isn't built for it, right?
Mhm.
But I was blown away by how crazy it made people and how inadequately dressed everyone was. So it was there that I had the sort of first thinkings of my outerwear company with my best friend Mike Baro. That really started there to say like, there's got to be something to this. The fact that I'm in what I otherwise thought was like the most warm and not rain or winter place, and yet this is a need. There's got to be more places than just Vancouver for this kind of product. So,
Mm.
so that was kind of where that started. But I came back and I ended up working at Taxi, the ad agency, for a little while.
That's right.
I did agency life for a little bit,
Yeah.
which was really eye opening. It was super interesting to go through that.
Yeah, if I remember, were you working on the TELUS account
I
or
did Telus, yeah,
Yes,
exactly. I
yes.
did Telus. We did what did we do? Yeah, my first project was a window display where we were sourcing AstroTurf because it was a spring campaign, and for whatever reason, we we worked on pandas for 2 years. It was great. So I only worked on the panda.
No
Any if
way.
you remember Tellus and Panda
Yeah.
Creative, that was stuff that me and the team were on. It was hilarious. It was so
Ah.
fun. So,
What did you get out of agency life?
oh boy, I got a lot of things out of it. It was a different time. I think it was sort of like, mm, well, first and foremost, okay, there's like two ways I can go with this. One is the super positive, and one is the more like, okay, interesting. Let's focus on that. The really positive one, I'll start with that first. The really positive one was it taught me a lot about teamwork in design and creative. I've been working solo forever, so I didn't have that camaraderie of working with a project manager and then working with your creative director or working with, your production team. Like doing magazines, you think of a layout, you lay it out, you make it print ready, and you send it off, and you're the only one who's to blame if you did rich black instead of actual CMYK black or whatever it is. Whereas in this case, that was new to me to hand those sort of designs off to awesome people to then go make your visions a reality. So that was really
Mhm.
unique and different. And that taught me a lot about teamwork. I'm still learning about teamwork, but we'll get there. On the sort of the pessimistic side, what was interesting is that I went to agency. I went to after so long of not never having a full-time job, I went to a full-time job with the idea of security. Like, oh, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna be set. We'll do this for a couple of years and see where it goes. And sure enough, like we lost Telus. We lost Telus within, like a year of me being there.
Mm.
And because that's primarily what I was there for. I was a part of a massive layoff. I feel bad for everyone. There's a bunch of offices in Toronto that shut down, and everyone has found, landed on their feet and found homes since. But that was a really big eye opener to say, am I going for security or am I going to go and learn something? Because security is just kind of a myth. Like I was more secure when I was freelancing. It felt. So
Mm.
that was a big learning experience, and one that I wouldn't trade for anything. It was great.
Right.
It was awesome.
And now you're back to being your own boss.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Well,
I say I say with hesitation because I mean I kind of wonder like I feel like I'd be my own boss if I was like a locksmith or something. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
something so awesomely like solo that you're there to just do that one thing, and you know you're not going to complain if you're yeah, it's like, does your lock work? Great, cool. Does your logo now, is it, do you worry that it feels this way, or do you like red or green better? Those are all subjectives, where
Yeah.
so in those things I don't feel like I'm my own boss necessarily,
Because you do have clients
because
to
I do have
answer to,
clients in
and
addition to
yeah.
working with my best friend on Barrow. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a teamwork. It's a bit, I don't know. It's a team.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into Barrow and
Yeah.
what that's been like over 5 seasons, 6 years
Five
around?
five seasons, and we're just in the process of pre-selling our sixth collection.
Wow, congrats.
It's crazy. Thank you. Thank you.
What's it been like for you in the last 9 to 10 months with the pandemic and trying to put out the
It's
new
been
season?
crazy. It's been crazy. Like I think that the we've been so extremely lucky when I think about um, the kinds of ebb and flows that our natural seasonal business has totally been, for the most part, fairly unaffected by the first couple of waves of COVID. I don't know how we timed that. It's something that we've been able to skirt around for the most part. But for example, like we were 2 days away from not having our samples for our fall winter 20 collection because it was 2 days before Fuzhou, China's lockdown. And that's where we manufacture, and those are our development partners as well. And so we've been working collaboratively up until then to say we don't know when this is going to kind of drop, but it's going to. So let's do what we can and go from there. So and getting out of that selling cycle, knowing that um, overseas has been in lockdown and we were about to go in one, allowed us to sort of, for the first time ever, sort of, Mike and I had the opportunity to say, do we want to do this? At this time, we thought it was like a 2-week thing. We don't know, but having gone through, having started my career in 2008 was like a pretty clear indicator that I was like, nothing's going to be normal. This is like a whole new thing we're dealing with here. So we don't have to do a collection. Do you want to do a collection? And when we made the leap to say, yeah, you know what? Let's just make some stuff, because who knows? Who knows? And sure enough, we're so glad we did. Um, um, but yeah, it's just been a wild ride, and we just absolutely feel so crushed for our dear friends who run shops and they've had to move locations or shut down their physical space and go permanently online. Um, not because for any other only other reason than just the physical. You kind of wonder, what is that? Um, is the physical so needed when you have such a great online community? They've been able to do it. I still feel like the physical, when we can get back to having a physical presence and at that community,
Yeah.
I think the world is better because of that. I'm a shop kid. I'm a retail shop kid. Like, I think leases on spaces for companies are great. Um, but in the moment, it's been really wild to sort of see that ebb and flow go.
Yeah, yeah. And in the 6 years of being a business owner,
Hmm.
entrepreneur, plus designer, that's kind of an interesting balance of being creative, but also having to put on your operational hat as well.
Totally. No, I'm really lucky because that's Mike's forte. Mike,
Mm.
Mike, my business partner at Barrow, is he handles, you know, we joke that he's numbers and figures and logistics, and I'm colors and shapes. That's really how we kind of separate the business. And uh, he's so level headed about all that kind of stuff as well too. So when we have these discussions, it's like, take away the emotion. What are the facts? What's possible? And just kind of go through the facts from there about what you can do. But yeah, I definitely think that getting I'm very proud of a lot of things over life so far, but getting a collection shipped to stores on time during a pandemic is definitely top of the things that I'm really really proud of, and I owe it all to our terrific vendors and
Yeah.
fabric suppliers, and everyone just banded together more so than I've ever seen in the world. It was amazing.
That's really nice to have them pull together for you like that.
Totally. Oh yeah, it was amazing
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
I'm also going to say, too, in terms of luck, it's great that you're able to work with your best friend for 6
Totally.
years
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not have that friendship, you know, um, fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine you guys are stronger.
Well, we've been roommates probably 3 times, 2 or 3 times, and now business partners for 6 years. So there's we have good conversations where we'll say, "Okay, okay, hold on. Uh roommate conversation, blah 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 blah." Or, "Okay,
Mm.
business partner conversation, blah 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 blah." And then sometimes we'll just say, "Okay, yo, just friend conversation. How you doing?"
That's
You know,
great being
so
able to bucket it like
we
that.
know we can compartmentalize it as best as possible. Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's good communication.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm yeah. We're lucky. I'm lucky for sure.
that's awesome. And I'd love to go back to some of the other work that you've done.
Sure.
You've done some design, like major design for some very well known brands. You've done Lululemon Seawees, a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah,
their
totally.
events,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you've also done the Herschel logo. Tell us
That's
about
right.
that.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So pre Australia, this is probably 2008. I had just graduated from, I think I just finished that Cowie and Fox job, to be totally honest. And I had just graduated from the IDEA program, which was up at CAP. I say CAP College because it was a college when I was there. I know it's a university now. And yeah, just working in the shops and working sort of in the skate and snow world. Um, a lot of the first couple of jobs that I had were posters for an event or something that was promotional along those lines, you know? And it was just like friends here and there kind of doing stuff. One of the individuals that I met and was doing some work for was at the time the local Vancouver van or BC Vans rep, Lyndon Cormack. And so I was doing posters for his van sample sales and that sort of thing, you know? And that was really kind of how we started to create a relationship of working together and whatnot there. And how did it work? I remember distinctly. Is there a Cactus Club on Boundary?
I think so.
Like in Brighton Burnaby, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I distinctly remember it being at Cactus Club in Burnaby, and I'm glad to fact check that. Yeah, good. And he was telling me that him and his brother were thinking of starting a company, and they wanted to work on someone with the visuals about how it all was going to come down. They had general idea of what they wanted to do, and they just needed to bring it to life. And yeah, that was I don't know what month that would have been, but let's say that was spring all through the summer and leading into the fall.
Mm.
It was those two guys. So it was Jamie and Lyndon. Jamie had they were both still repping at the time as well too. Jamie was doing K2 Sports out in Calgary, and so all the K2 brands, and then and Lyndon was doing Vans and all that kind of stuff. So we were trying to squeak in little hours here and there to do hand tags and bag designs and all that kind of stuff. And at lunches and after work and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there was four of us pre like full-time role. There was another guy named Tom who was I think actually made the first original samples
Mm.
in Calgary. And yeah, we just got that first collection out the door, catalog and all, and then they just absolutely blew up from there, and that was that. My gosh, though, like I think the first time it really hit of how massive it was I was actually in Melbourne, and I was at a store, and there was like a 40-foot tall mural of it on the side of the building
Wow.
or
How did you
inside
feel
the
looking
building.
at that?
It was crazy. It was like seeing like an old pal or like, is that me up there? What is this? It was a totally surreal experience that
Yeah.
to this day, like we were sort of talking a little bit about it before, but like you go through ebbs and flows where it feels like a dear old friend, and then in other times it kind of feels like a stranger. And when you see
Mhm.
hundreds of times a day when you see that people wearing their products, and it's just so special to know that you can go to any part of the world and see something that a very young and naive graphic designer had their hand in doing, and it's a really special thing. I hope that more
Absolutely.
people can have those kinds of experiences like I had, because yeah, it's really really cool, really special. I'm very grateful.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
totally.
mean, totally speaks to your talent too. In creating In creating your designs, like for example, this logo, was
Mhm.
it something that just um, took a lot of thought process, or was it like I know what which direction to go in?
I think there was a really interesting thing that was happening at that time. The strategic direction around the Herschel logo that you know it as it of now is a direct relationship to what was happening in 2008. Um, I don't think it's any coincidence that Americana and heritage is what happened as a result of 2008. Um, Jesus, I'm the 2008 episode. I've said that like so many times. Um, there's that saying where it's like when you get lost on a trail, you go back to the last spot where you recognized or where you
Mhm.
felt sort of safe and secure. And I think for a lot of people, that was um, the world of yesterday, and this idea of heritage and back when people made things with their hands. And, there was a bit of patina to everything, right?
Mm.
And, so in the first iterations of Herschel, I know that actually if you have a piece, you'll know you have a piece from the first collection because the zipper pulls have another logo. And
Oh.
that other special logo was more of a modern take of what was happening in the modern contemporary world pre 2008. And then uh, I do remember having a conversation that was more along the lines of, "This isn't working. Give me the weekend, and I'll come back with something else." And then came back with this particular logo. Um, but having that duality, like over the course of creating that brand of that sort of old of that first logo, and then what we ended up landing on,
Yeah, yeah.
it I think speaks a lot to sort of the that zeitgeist that was happening.
Right.
And like like that sounds like I came up with all of that. Like no, it was a shared effort between like Lyndon had stacks and stacks of amazing Americana Japanese magazines in his office, and there was a lot of inspiration and influence going on there from myself to them, which was great. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Team effort.
always,
Yeah,
always,
always. It takes a
always,
village, right?
totally, totally.
um, I wanted to touch on another talent that you have. You were in a band as well,
Yeah,
and
totally.
you've been a DJ. So you were
Yes,
in Sunshine,
that's correct.
and you
Yes,
were bassist and vocals.
that's right. Yeah,
What
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah,
that like?
yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so I actually had I was going. I love starting sentences and not finishing them. I had a moment in life where I had to make the decision of whether or not I wanted to be a jazz bass player or a graphic designer.
Wow.
And my rationale was that I could always work as a graphic designer and play music. I didn't always think that I'd be able to work as a musician and play as a graphic designer. So, so music has always been around. Like I was,
Mhm.
I was always, I mean, I said the thing about the me stomping behind my sister singing "I Want Juice." So there's always been a desire for me to be on stage. There's always been a desire for me to be enjoying playing, and yeah, I think like my beer money in college was organizing and running a Beatles cover band. We were called the Billy Shears,
No
and we
way.
played from basically like anything in Vancouver. Like name a bar that would have a band on it that isn't around anymore, and we played it all the way to like from Victoria to Kelowna kind of thing. So many Christmas parties and like weddings and all that kind of stuff. And then the DJing was kind of a response to um, it was a lot of work booking a band. It was a lot of work doing that and splitting those dollars and loading up your bass rig and the drum set and all that kind of stuff. Whereas DJing at that time, Serato just came out. So all of a sudden all you need is a laptop. Well, I'm
Mm,
a graphic designer. I have a laptop. So that's where really that kind of came in, was like,
right.
here's an opportunity to still do the same thing. There's still covers, but it's a bit more personal with just you and the audience. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the only reason why I got into that was I know you had Nate on as well too.
Yes.
Nate gave me one of my first gigs with Trevor Risk back in the
No
day, and so Trevor and
way.
I met at Ion, which he then introduced me to Nate and Maddie and the whole guys and all that kind of stuff at Donnelly, which was just so great. And then Trevor and I, we always talked about bands we liked, and we said finally let's write some songs and have some fun, which we did for 5 years, four or five
Oh, wow,
years,
you guys were
totally.
around for that
Well,
long.
we've actually technically never broken up.
You guys are just on a very
We
long
are
hiatus.
precisely not. I don't think a single member lives in the city. Jill lives in the city, and Sean lives in the city. Sorry, Adam. that everyone moved away basically. Trevor is in somewhere off the coast of Italy right now,
Oh, no way.
and then Yan is out elsewhere. And anyways, bottom line, we might be disbanded, but we're still around if you if the timing's
Well,
right.
you know what? Prior to this recording, I did listen to a song or two.
Did you? No
Yeah.
way. Oh, cool. That's rad. That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
do remember your site was sunshinesucks.com, right?
We're like the second worst Googleable band name of all time. The first worst Googleable band name being Girls, which is a band. Yeah, no. So Sunshine Sucks had to be our. That was the only at handle that was
Oh,
available.
it's the best.
And I think that's Trevor's still to this day his Twitter.
Oh, no way.
And he's like one of the lead writers on Letterkenny. Yeah,
Really?
totally. So like he's getting all like so Sunshine gets these crazy hits because they'll put it in the credits every once in a while.
Yeah,
And so like you'll get like a bunch of people that listen to it on the YouTube or the Bandcamp and stuff. It's just a ride. It's so much fun.
that's
To me,
amazing.
it was just like I just want to be able to tell my kid one day like your dad was in a band, and that's all. And we did it, and it was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So yeah, we had one
that's
tour.
awesome. Did you?
We
Where
went to
did you go?
Calgary,
Ooh.
which was super rad. It was really cool. But we got flooded out. It was we went there for Sled Island, the music festival, and it was the big Calgary floods of like whatever that was, 2012 or
Oh my, I didn't even
13.
know about
Yeah,
this
like the
flood.
Saddle Dome like flooded like up to like it was pandemonium. It was crazy.
Oh man.
Anyways, natural disasters. Yeah. Anyways,
um, I wanted to loop back to pandemic because I've been
yeah.
having a lot of great conversations around mental health.
Hmm.
Nate and Garrett have been super open about it, and I feel like you're such a positive person, but I'd love to know what it was like for you in the last 9 to 10 months, having to deal with the changes in life. And
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, my breakdown happened on day 3. So that was quick. When I say breakdown, I just mean like, having gone through, you know, just some interesting ups and downs in business and whatever. Um, that's one side of the coin, but then there's also this other thread of sort of, I don't know. I, I guess the movies I watch tend to focus on like really, really hard things like mass extinctions and that kind of stuff. So I think I was going to a really spiral dark place right out the gate. I'm very lucky to have a phenomenal future wife, Sinead. We're gonna get married in April. So whenever you're listening to this, if it's April after April 24th, 2011, I'm a married man. I'm very
it'll
proud,
be
very
before,
excited.
but
Okay, cool, great,
this
great,
this is
excellent.
awesome. April.
So very, very excited.
Hmm.
And so she was super supportive. But I think that just, you were one of the last people we saw. Like we went to the show at Rennie, and
Yep,
we were at GD Mal like 3 days before.
that's right. Right.
Maybe it was a week before, but
Yeah, it was
in
like
my
a week of
phone,
week of
it's like
you.
it's us hanging out, having a great time, and then the
Yep.
next thing is just screenshots of memes of people trying to deal with what this new reality is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's ebbs and flows for sure. I think that um, because you're asking how have I handled personal mental health and how has that the challenging part is feeling connected to people. The
Mm.
challenging part is if you're charged by human physical connection, it's really challenging. Like,
Yeah.
um, like I think that some of the only times that I really find myself like choking up is when I watch like a Boiler Room set and I see people
Mm.
dancing.
Right. Yep.
That to me, it totally gets me. You know,
Mm.
um, and for many many months, I've thought like, are we going to be able to do that again? Are we going to be able to have any number of people on the dance floor for any kind of genre, for any kind of place?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are the things that kind of choke me up a bit.
Yeah.
Um, the positive side of me says yes, and I'm hopeful that people will do their part to you know do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's tough. It's not fun. It's
No.
not fun.
Yeah, and I know that you're one of those people that's charged up
I
by
do. Yeah.
being connected with
Yeah.
others. So
Totally. Totally. yeah, I don't know. I think I'll mention 2008 one more time. In 2008, there was no work that so like I was fresh in a career. I had to do so many different things just to just to kind of, you know, live. So the feeling, I think when I had that like day 3 breakdown, it felt like I'm going to have to do that again. We're all going to have to do that again. We're all going to have
Mm,
to be as resilient as possible and be able to, you know, figure out how we're all going to make this work. And whether it's people, um, you know, going dark and then getting better, whatever that was, you know, we're
right.
gonna have to all go through that. And I think that was why I was kind of initially freaking out, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. But you have a resilient spirit.
I do have a resilient spirit. I have a tremendous, outgoing, positive vibe. I'd be lying though if I said like there wasn't, you know, a lot of, you know, questions of spiraling that happens underneath that surface as well too.
Of
I mean
course.
that's just a given, I would presume, you know.
Yeah,
But
we're all human.
totally right. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's I think it's been a wild thing to go through and see, and I wish that our social personas better identify with how we are actually doing.
Mhm.
It's been
Mhm.
so inspiring to see some recent mothers over the last couple of years being very honest with actually how their experience has been, and not leaving anything out, you know,
Right.
and and having that honesty. If people feel comfortable doing that, I think is really strong. And
Mhm.
I've always encouraged those in my network to say, hey, if you're not doing well, like try letting people know and be
Yeah.
honest about it, you know,
Mhm.
because I think that will go pretty far.
Yeah, we're all struggling in some sort of way at some point,
Totally,
and
totally, and obviously, I say that as from an immense amount of privilege of having a partner who I live with, and we live in a home, and we have a dog, and there's a lot. I totally understand how how that sounds, you know, and how
mhm.
lucky I am. Um, but but yeah, I don't know. We just have to figure it out together.
Yeah,
There's no I. It's all we. You know.
it's all we. And actually I wanted to ask a question about you and Shins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She is amazing.
Truly,
Yes, she's great. And she's also creative too. She's an art director.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that you guys have done some work together, but you guys are definitely always soundboarding off of each other.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I wanted to ask, what makes your dynamic, um, what makes you such good partners in work and life? Because it's very easy to see that connection and that synergy
Sure.
when you spend time with the both of you.
Cool. Okay, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, oh, I don't know if I could boil it down to a particular series of things. I just think that we communicate so earnestly, um, and I think we just listen a lot. We really try to listen to each other, and if we catch ourselves maybe not listening as well as we should, we'll say, "Oh, I don't know if I understand that. What do you mean?" or whatnot.
Mm.
Um, I think that, you know, the fact that we met uh, older in life, and um, having just been through different things, we have the ability to sort of not have to feel like we need to play any weird sort of part or role. You know, like we comically both met in what was both our determined summer of ourselves. And that sort of idea of like, no, I'm not meeting anyone. It was a shocking. It was a shock of how quickly you actually found someone when you were just being totally yourself and they were being their own selves.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so that's one thing. I think on the collaborative side, um, we also come from the strategy of creative the same way, uh, but we just tackle problems differently as well too, which is really exciting. So that collaboration is just the best. She's great.
Yeah, it seems that you're quite honest in that too, that you're willing to challenge each other
Absolutely.
in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
whatever perspective that you're coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah, totally,
That's so cool. I
totally.
love it.
We worked on if anyone's ever been, if you haven't been, you should go to Fig up on Fourth Ave, and then also their new location on Main Street. We did their website and visual brand and all that kind of stuff with that team, which is just JJ and the team there is the best. So
Yeah, when are
they're
they
super
opening
great.
the Main Street
It's now
location?
open.
Oh,
It's
it's
now
open
open.
now.
It's
Oh,
just
I love to
opened.
check
Yeah,
it
yeah,
out.
yeah. They have these really cool floating um, woodland floral
Like installations?
installations. Thank you. Yes, that's
Oh,
the
that's
word
really neat.
precisely. Yeah.
Nice.
And then we also worked on our friends. Andrew Barber has a really cool fitness blog, a streaming service called A Few Fun Moves. So these are like the fun things you get to work on when you're just stuck alone for months
Yeah.
in a thing, and you have the access to the internet. You can have some fun,
Find
which is
anything.
totally which is an absolute dream.
Yeah. And so, talking about Googling things, like searching things out, I feel like you are also the kind of person that is inspired by so many things. So, like, kind of what's been on your radar lately in terms of
Ooh,
inspiration, music, designers,
good question.
brands?
Um, hmm. Since I was 12, if you could give me a plane ticket to go anywhere in the world, it would be Japan. It would be Tokyo, Japan. And I'm 35 and I've yet to go.
You
So
would love it. I'm
that
just
is,
going to put that out
we've talked
there.
about this. I know. You're totally right.
Yes, it's one of
Uh,
my favorite places, and I know it will be yours.
Totally. And like I was pulled previously in a different part of life to Australia and Sydney for their arts and culture and music. I think that next step for me is learning more about Japan and more
Mhm.
about different parts of Europe as well too. I think there's some
Mm.
interesting things happening there. So to answer your question, I think that there's places always inspire me, um, and the kinds of people that come from those places. Um, what else inspires me? I think, yeah, I brought up like those boiler room sets or whatever you can listen to a curated playlist from someone else.
Mhm.
Being able to go on those fun little adventures with their soundtrack is forever inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Tyler. This is
Thank you for having me.
always such a pleasure being around your energy. My final question to you is, with the work that you do, what is it that you want to leave behind in the world?
Ooh, terrific surprise question. I love it. Um, I think that um, immediately I've been very lucky to practice design from great people who have opened up the doors to showing me the ropes. I will have you could have a list of people at the end of this, and everyone will be grateful for. I hope to have opened those doors for other people to get inspired about things. Um, I hope that the a friend said it really well once. They were talking about I think they were trying to get a job or whatever it was, and I think that how it went was they just asked um, they wanted to get a job, but they also had people that were working for them at one time too. And went something along the effect of someone asking, well, I don't have any references, but why don't you ask the people that I work with or that work for me? And that as a sentiment of, working with a great team and being able to leave behind hopefully practices and strategies of thinking about design and thinking about creative work is what I'd want to leave behind.
I love it. What a wonderful legacy to leave.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I look forward to maybe a part 2 in the future with you
Absolutely.
on the show again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Meg.
Thank you. If you enjoyed that last conversation, be sure to check out more episodes of The Craft on Spotify and guest photo galleries on the website at wearethecraft.com. Thanks again for listening.